This is the Marex 330 Scandinavia, and I'm going to cut straight to the chase because I think this is currently the cleverest sub 11 metre production boat on the market. And later on in this review, I'm going to show you why it's the Swiss Army knife of boats. But before we do that, let's head out to sea and find out what it's like to drive. I'm Jack Haynes. Welcome to YachtBuyer. We have got great conditions to test the boat today. There's an easterly wind pouring into Poole Bay, and that's kicked up sort of metre and a half swell. There's a bit of chop as well, so really good sea conditions to just see how well this boat can handle it. And I have to say, it's behaving remarkably well. I mean, downwind, it really relishes it. You can really open the taps up a bit and cruise along at 25 knots, and then upwind, if you drop back to about 20 knots, it really just slices through it really nicely. And actually it's a remarkably dry ride as well. There's a lot of wind around, obviously, so it does kick up spray and that will go over the boat, but in terms of the comfort of the ride, it feels absolutely great. And this has got the single Volvo Penta D6 440 horsepower engine. That's on a single stern drive. You can have the same block with 480 horsepower on a shaft drive as well, a V-drive shaft, and there are some twin engine options as well. Volvo Penta D3 220s, or you can have the Mercury 3-litre V6s, they're 270 horsepower. This is a very popular option though, this single 440, and you can see why. Performance is great, pretty comfortably get 33 knots out of this, and you can cruise at 25 knots for a range of, say, 250 nautical miles. It gives the boat great balance as well, and obviously there's one less engine to service and one less stern drive to service. Performance is brilliant. It's got plenty of get up and go. You've only got a single engine, but there's plenty of torque there, so it doesn't feel lethargic. And in these conditions where there is a bit of swell around, it's nice that you've got a good bit of reaction from the throttle if you do need to engage it at short notice. Now that twin engine option is about a sort of £15,000 extra, the Mercuries. The nice thing about those is they've got the joystick, and that comes with Skyhook. So if you're single-handing and you want that joystick control, then that could be appealing. But this is a really nice balance of performance and economy. It's actually a very easy boat to drive, even in conditions like this. And part of that is down to the helm position, which ergonomically really couldn't be better. It's so easy to get comfortable. This seated position is great, even on a rough day when you think you might be tempted to stand. You're not, just because you've got such a great view, you're so well supported by the seat, and you want to be close to the dash so you can easily hit the windscreen wiper buttons if you get some spray on the windscreen. You've got great quick references up here to the dials, which you've got the RPM, so you can really easily keep an eye on that. And then this boat has got the upgraded 16-inch Raymarine MFD, so you've got this lovely big chart in front of you. It's nice and close, so it's really easy to interact with. It's a very simple dash, it's very clear, but it works brilliantly. And the other thing that makes it easy is the suite of electronics. So on a day like this, when there's wind and chop and the boat is moving around quite a lot, because you've got auto trim on the stern drive leg and you've got auto trim on the trim blades, you don't have to think too much about that side of things. All you have to do as the skipper is just set the speed, and the boat really is doing the rest of the work. You don't have to be constantly working the leg to keep the trim optimized. Same with the side-to-side trim. One of the key features of the 330 is this side door. Now obviously that really comes into play when you're in the marina, when you're crewing the boat, and gives you another access point. But it's great for a day like this where there's a bit too much spray around to have the sunroof open, but you can just have this open ajar and it allows you to get a bit of natural ventilation running through the boat on a warmer day. What about the way this boat handles? Well, again, that's where the single stern drive is so good. There's just mountains of grip. It responds so nicely to the wheel. There's a really enjoyable amount of heel. It's a genuinely fun boat to drive. Yes, it's practical. Yes, it's well built. Yes, it's very sensible, but it also has this side to it that is just genuinely really good fun to steer. And you know, that has a practical application as well. On a day like this, I'm really enjoying the fact that if there's a particularly large wave coming, you can be agile to that. You can quickly move the direction of travel, you can steer around it. Downwind, it feels absolutely fantastic. So that really is almost a Jekyll and Hyde element to this boat. There's the sensible, practical side, and then there's the bit where you can really have quite a lot of fun throwing it around if you want to, or avoiding the worst of the chop like I'm trying to do today. And the engine really builds into that, because even now at sort of 3,000 RPM, is a little bit left on tap and you get a really nice push from that engine, and it just gets you out of trouble. If you get yourself stuck in a wave pattern in a trough, there's plenty of reserves to help you if you needed to. So that's what it's like to drive. Let's head back into the marina where I can show you a few more of those really clever features. Now, as I said, there are two twin engine options for this boat. One of those is the Mercury option, and the nice thing about that is that you get the joystick, the Axiom joystick as part of that. And that gives you joystick control similar to IPS, so you twist and you push and the boat moves in the corresponding direction. But you also get Skyhook, which is really handy if you go boating on your own a lot. It means you can hit a button and the boat just holds itself still using the GPS. So you know that you can go and put fenders on, lines, and the boat's not going to move anywhere. This has got the single, and actually it's still a very easy boat to manoeuvre at slow speed. This boat's got the bow thruster. In fact, the bow thruster is standard, and that's nice and powerful, so that gives you really good control over the bow. But with a single stern drive, it is very manoeuvrable still. If you swing it from side to side, you can not quite spin it on the spot like you can with a joystick, but the effect is pretty similar. And the steering is so light and so easy to swing from lock to lock that you can, you know, pivot in what is quite a small space here on the way into Salson's Marina. It's not the easiest entrance, but demonstrates quite well just how manoeuvrable this boat is, even without the bow thruster. Right, so let's get back into the berth, and then we're going to have a closer look at those features. I'm going to sound like a real anorak, getting all mushy about a seat slide mechanism, but this is a beauty. They have developed their own mechanism that uses a gas ram and a button rather than a clunky old ratchet, so you can just push that and then you can slide it to any position that is comfortable. Lovely stuff. Fender storage can be a real pain on boats of this size because they take up space in lockers that you want to use for other stuff, but Marex have thought of that, and they've got dedicated fender storage here inside the side deck. There's space in there for all the boat's fenders. Really easy, neat solution. This feature isn't unique to the 330. Every Marex has got this, but it doesn't make it any less brilliant. The covers for the cockpit that enclose this whole area stow away inside this section here. So if you want to cover the boat, you simply pull them out like curtains, join them in the middle, and then when you're done, you push them back in, close the door, and they're away in seconds. They're a cost option, but you can have solar panels on the 330. They're £4,100, but they should give you enough juice to top up the 12-volt supply, the fridge, the lights, things like that. And they're well worth considering, especially if you're not going to have regular access to shore power. If the boat isn't connected to power, they'll just help you keep the batteries topped up when you're away from it. Of course, this foredeck cushion makes a great place to sunbathe on board the boat, but it actually floats. So when you're at anchor, you can chuck it in the water and use it as a floating sunpad. On with the tour then, and let's start back here because you'll notice this boat has quite an extended bathing platform. That is an option. The standard one comes to about here, and for around £7,000 more you can have this extension, which is quite a lot, but of course it does give you a bit more space to move around back here. Note this boat's also got the tender davit, so you can hook the tender on here and then flip it along here so that you can travel with it on board like that. A couple of things in the deck. You've got a bit of storage down here. That's a wet locker really. You can just drop things in there. It's drained, so things can drain off down there. And then this is your bathing ladder. Set into the transom here, you have a little bench. Tea covered, perfect place to sit and look out over the water. Now, these boats will often be run by a couple and sometimes by people on their own, I imagine. So ease of crewing and safety is very important, and it does feel very safe to move around on. Right from the off, you have these great, lovely teak handrails that work both when you're inside and outside the transom. And then moving on to the side deck, it feels very safe as well. Again, these fall to hand. And then you see you've got really high tow rails, so your feet feel very secure. They can't slip off the deck when you're moving forward. And soon enough, you have these really solid rails moving up to pretty much hip height. And you haven't got cables along the center here. You've got, again, a proper railing. You've also got a railing up here at head level. So no matter how much it's swinging around when you're out at sea or moving forward to crew, you feel safe and secure. And we talked about the side door out at sea, how good it is for communication and ventilation. But here on a boat of this size, it's nice to have a separate access point into the boat rather than always having to make your way right aft and back through the doors. So it means that I can come off the side deck, in through here, and back out here into the cockpit. A cockpit that does feel like a bit of a sanctuary. It feels very nice and protected. We've got the sunroof open at the moment, but if you close that, you can enclose it with those canopy covers that we've already seen, and then you really can use this boat whatever the weather. And even when it's open like this, because these sides are so tall, you feel very safe and secure. It also means you've got very comfortable seats, tall backrests, loads of people can sit around this side, and then this beautiful teak table doubles in size, and that means you can bring this bench into the equation when you want to sit down and have more people to have lunch. I love the fact that you've got these beautiful cup holders built into the middle there as well. There's some other great practical detailing inside this cockpit. One thing is the access to storage that works really nicely. You don't have to lift off cushions or pull up lids. You can just one motion, it all comes up, and you have gas ram holding it all up, and you have great access there to the storage. There's one on this side, there's one here as well. Really easy and really usable. If we move further forward, you have the sliding doors, and they add to the boat's versatility as well, because on a winter's day you can just slide these closed, pump up the heating in here, and you can go out boating. It's a very easy boat to look after and maintain. You don't have to mess around loads of covers. You just slide the roofs over, slide those covers around, hose it off, and you're done. Very low maintenance. And there's more clever stuff going on in here as well. So at the moment, this is in travel mode, but as easy as this, you can just push this bench the other way, fold out this leaf, and then you have a 4-person diner inside, fully protected. This actually drops down as well. You have an infill cushion, and you have a berth for 2 more people there, so you can sleep 6 people on board this boat if you want to. And note, you also have this stool that pulls out, so again, you have another spot at the table if you all want to dine within this sheltered wheelhouse. Works really nicely. Now the galley isn't enormous, it can't be enormous on a boat at this size, but it's very well arranged. You've got loads of storage options, nice deep drawers on soft close mechanisms. Got a big deep sink here, no chopping board sadly, but they have got a good spot there to hold it. A flexible tap as well, which just helps out with the washing up. Now you can have induction cooking on this boat, and you need to have a generator to run it, but you've got gas here, very simple, very easy. 2 gas rings here, and then you've got a gas cooker as well, and a nice big storage locker down here for pots and pans. So yeah, it's not enormous, but it's really well thought out. Cooling space isn't amazing. It's underneath the helm seat here. That's not huge if you're going to be living on the boat for a long time, but it will certainly do the job for long weekends. You'll just have to eat and drink everything very quickly. Moving on to the accommodation. Quite a simple layout down here as well. There isn't a huge amount of space to play with. You have a double cabin amidships, and you have a double cabin forward, which would be the master cabin, just because it's got a bit more headroom. Both have good headroom in their entranceways. I mean, I'm 6 foot and I can easily stand in the entranceways of both, but in the mid cabin it does go down quite a long way as it comes underneath the saloon. But in both cabins the beds are a really good size. They're both very comfortable as well. And again, Marex have worked in storage wherever they can. There's hanging lockers in both. There's storage underneath the bed as well. So again, really making the most of all of that space. And the windows play a big part of that as well, especially forward. We have lovely big windows that let loads of natural light flood into that forward cabin. And on that note, because they've used glass panels in these doors, you aren't sort of confronted with a big solid piece of wood when you have these doors closed. They help with the feeling of light, as is the fact you get natural light coming in through the sunroof and the windscreen. Now on a boat of this size, people may not have guests to stay all that often, so actually having a decent bathroom that feels a bit more home from home is probably more important, and this is a good one. Good size, separate shower cubicle, again headroom is so 6'1", 6'2", and a decent amount of storage as well. That's really nicely done. So that's the interior. The last thing to look at is the engine room. Engine room access is refreshingly simple on board the 330. It's a couple of hatches, both here in the cockpit. Lift that one up with this one, and then it's a really easy descent down this ladder into what is a squeaky clean engine room. It's like a surgical theatre down here. Everything is so neatly arranged, easy to get to, tidy and clean. Now if you do need to, God forbid, take the engine out or do any major servicing, you can lift up this section here, and this hatch also lifts up, so then you've got even better access. But for day to day, pop your head in, check everything's looking okay. This is absolutely spot on. The only downside is that the fuel filter is quite a long way forward and it's not got a clear bowl, so you can't check the quality of the fuel by eye, but that's a small gripe really. The other reason why having this single engine is so good is it gives you so much room down here. This engine has loads of room to breathe. If you had the twins, everything would be a bit more cramped. So that's another benefit. Working on this area is so much easier because you only have the single engine. The 330 is more expensive than many boats of a similar size, but then its standard spec includes a lot of items that others have as options, such as heating, trim tabs, a bow thruster, ash decking and a battery charger. The base price with the single Volvo Penta D6 440 is around £380,000 including VAT. Our test boat, however, had nearly £60,000 worth of optional extras, including solar panels, teak throughout, the extended bathing platform, Alcantara upholstery and a rain marine electronics upgrade, for a total price of just shy of £470,000. So there you have it, the Marex 330 Scandinavia, a boat seemingly with very few direct rivals. Yeah, you have your more traditional Scandinavian fare like the Botnia's Haga, but that really is very traditional and doesn't have that inside-outside living that this boat has. And yes, you pay a premium for this boat, but you feel exactly where that's going. It's built to a very high standard and you can use it all year round because of that versatility. Marex's motto is to make the little things easy, and this boat certainly does that. But it also feels like a boat that's been built for boaters by boaters, and that's what makes it so appealing. Thank you very much for watching that review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one.